I sing it.
Oh,
Nope.
okay.
Sprung it on you. Sprung it on you.
Now I'm glad they have that obnoxious voice that they're like, this is being recorded. I was like, oh, hi.
Yeah. Sit up straight.
What?
Don't slouch. It's time.
Hi, welcome to Two Non-Doctors. I'm Liz Mealy.
I'm Maria Shahada.
Just gonna say it. Forrest Whitaker was at one of my shows this weekend. And
Not what I thought you were gonna say. What? Forrest Whitaker was at one of your shows. Which show? Okay, no, I'll just let you tell the story. You go.
Well, it's okay. So it's kind of funny. So if anybody doesn't know, the Cellar is known for having celebrities come to shows, be at the Olive Tree upstairs and, like eat with the other comedians and stuff like that. It wasn't at the Cellar. It was at New York Comedy Club. So I think for me, the shock is that it was at this other club that I work. But it was so funny to me because like I was doing I was running around on Friday. I had a gig at one of the New York Comedy Club locations. Then I had to run to Queens, do a show in Queens, and then run back to the same location and do a show. So I'm like 10 minutes before my spot. I sit down, I see my friend Adrian, and then the host comes out and he goes, Oscar-winning actor Forrest Whitaker is in the audience. And I was like, did he pay you to say that? Like, why did you say it like that? And then of course I was like, okay. And I just like, I don't know about you, but like, what am I supposed to do with that information? I don't have any like Forrest Whitaker jokes. I'm definitely not going to point him out. Like nobody is at a comedy.
You don't have to point out Forrest Whitaker. That man
he's
points himself out.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest. He was in the back. This is the weirdest part about it. And this is kind of a non-story. It's more like a in my head story. And I wanted to know if you related to it. So he says this like 10 minutes before my set and, or like 15 because Adrian was going on right before me. So he tells us, Adrian goes on. I'm watching Adrian. She has a great set. There's some stuff I hadn't heard. I'm paying attention to her. And then he introduces me and I'm doing the show and they're okay. They're like the first two shows I had done that night were awesome. And I have like two new things that I'm working on and I'm kind of sandwiching them in there. And they were just kind of okay. They weren't bad, but they weren't like amazing. And you know how like it would have been acceptable if you didn't have two amazing shows before that. And in the middle of a joke, I'm like, oh yeah, Forrest Whitaker's here, like in my head. So I'm like, you know me, I'm like ranting. I'm like, oh yeah. Like it was so funny to watch my mind be like, oh, that's probably Forrest Whitaker because I remembered he had said he was in the back. And I could see that there was like three Black people in the back. And then I realized there was clearly a giant Black man in the back. And I was like, oh, it's Forrest Whitaker.
Wait, so do you think that's why people weren't laughing?
No, I think it was me.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if everybody was too self-conscious to laugh. Like, is Forrest laughing? I can't laugh if Forrest's not laughing.
Well, the other thing is that I don't know how it was seated, like when he came in, because if he had come in after the show, like lights down, it should be fine. I remember talking to, who was it? It was a kind of like a big comedian. And they were like, oh, I try to make sure that I come in after the show starts so nobody pays attention to me. And I was like, oh, that's very thoughtful because like the whole point is to be paying attention to the persons on stage. And if you come in and people look around and they're like, what is that, Chris Rock? Not that this story is about Chris Rock, but I don't know. It was one of those things that like all my friends have had a lot of celebrities in the audience and I haven't really had that experience. And it was just kind of like a nice moment. I don't think I made a great impression because my set was okay.
I thought the story was going to end with him coming up to you being like, you're amazing. I'm going to produce everything you do. No,
that's where our fantasy is. Reality is he was a man at a show that was probably like, I don't know why I'm here. And I don't relate to this tiny woman.
I think the most famous person I've ever performed in front of was Vince Vaughn.
Really? LA?
No, it was at the Tribeca Film Festival.
Look at us.
Yeah. And he's very nice. He came up to me after with his girlfriend or wife or whatever who was by his side. And he was like, I'm from Ohio too. I think he said he was from Ohio and that he was half Lebanese. And I was like, oh, cool. That's cool.
You're like, okay. I mean, are you gonna adopt me? Like, what's happening?
Thank you, Vince Vaughn. No, it was like I was in awe. I wasn't like
Yeah.
whatever. I don't give a shit. I was
I've
yeah.
had big comedians give me compliments, and that feels good. But I don't know. There's something about one. It's
I
always when
want
you get off stage, and when you make eye contact when you get off stage, who's gonna be like, that sucks? You know what I mean?
nobody, but they would just, they yeah. I mean, you usually get a good job,
Yeah.
but I want to say that I did like notice the lack of like complimenting my set. It was just, hey, I'm from Ohio and I have Arab roots as well. Like, and I was like, that's
Yeah,
not
it was like you had a
okay.
conversation and he was gonna follow up on that conversation.
Yeah. I'm sure he didn't mean anything by it, but that's why I was like, I don't think he thinks I was funny. But I was also very new at comedy at the time, so I
Oh,
wouldn't have thought I was
how
funny.
many years in?
That's why I was like starstruck. I was like, oh, I just watched you in Clay Pigeons and Swingers.
Um,
I don't know. I was like probably 3-4 years in.
yeah. Yeah, it was just weird. It was just I was genuinely, if they had said he was at the Cellar, I wouldn't have thought anything of it. I think it was because
Yeah.
it was at the New York Comedy Club. And because I like I have such a fish brain that I didn't care when the host told me, and then all of a sudden I realized it while I was talking, like in the middle of a set. I was like, "Oh, fuck. I hate when my brain just like comes up with ideas." It was literally like in the middle of I was like, "Oh, man, I forgot to pick up my dry cleaning." Like it was
Yeah.
that kind of like,
Yeah.
ugh.
That's funny. I lectured John Mayer once.
Ooh,
Because he
at the
started hanging out
Cellar?
at the Cellar. I don't know if he still
Yes.
does that.
So I
Um,
remember when that was happening. That was like 10 years ago, right?
yeah, and then Colin Quinn was like, John, do you want to go on? It was a Friday night, and I was just hanging out. I had no spots, and he was like, oh, I don't know. And I was like, excuse me, John Mayer. Okay, this is the best club in the world. It's a Friday night, and you've been offered a spot. If you want to be a comedian, you need to go up every. I was wasted. You need to go up every night. Okay, every single night. And he was like, okay. He did go on.
Yeah, so him doing stand up is your fault. Is that what I'm getting from this? This is the Colin Quinn, Maria Shahada catastrophe.
I'm
I'm mad at
sorry.
both of you now. I'm friends with both of you, and now I'm mad at both of you.
I
Could
like
you
John
imagine?
Mayer.
I don't want fucking singers. Like, remember when like Madonna did stand up on like late night or something? Like,
Didn't she
what
do
the?
it at the? Yeah,
It
yeah.
was years ago, but it was like, what the
Oh,
fuck are we doing?
it
Like,
just makes us look better because they're so bad at it, and then we
I,
just look like magicians.
I guess I don't think people really care when you're that famous.
Do you know how I was going to start this conversation today on the podcast?
I would love to
That like
hear.
my fingers smell like cheese puffs because my flatmate was like,
You need me for this
do
podcast.
you,
You need
do you
me."
want some cheese puffs?" And I was like, "Yeah, no." That kind of has that lingering scent because you can wipe your fingers, but it'll stay. Has
It'll
that
stay
cheesy
forever.
smell. It's really
Have you
gross.
ever like washed your hands and it's still there and you're like,
Yeah.
what kind of chemicals
I
are
had I
these?
had seriously, I had vinegar and salt potato chips, and I could not for a day and a half like wash my hands enough to get that vinegar smell off my fingers. It was making me so sick.
Yeah, it makes me crazy.
Mm. Well,
Well, oh, okay. This is who we
there's a
are.
really good song called Forrest Whitaker. It's like a rap.
I know, I love
Yeah.
it. That's exactly what I feel slightly bad that my first thought was I think his name's something Ali.
Yeah. I don't
Um
remember either, but yeah.
Great. It's a fucking great song. And I think of his song before I think of this the plethora of great acting that he has done. So I can't tell you
Yeah.
if he's nice or not nice. I can't tell you
Is
anything
it
about
Forrest
him.
Whitaker from the song? Yeah.
Yeah, could you imagine? Um, should we get into announcements unless you
Oh
have
yeah.
any
No, I got
other smelly hand topic conversations?
spare you the rest.
This is already a very personal podcast, but I do sometimes wonder where they're just like, I don't know if I would choose these women as friends.
I'm certain people turn us off after like 3 minutes, so I just feel free to say whatever I want after the first 3 minutes.
Yeah, it really lets it go. Announcements. Thank you to everybody that gives to our Patreon. We are super grateful. You guys are amazing. Anybody that wants to give to us, you get so many fun benefits: stickers, weekly bonuses, monthly bonuses, control our Googles, be a Google guest, access to our stand-up, signed book for me. There's so many options. So patreon.com/2nondoctors, full word doctors, and support us in our podcast.
Yeah. And then also you can follow us on the socials, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at Two Non Doctors, the number two full word doctors, and on Instagram at Two Non DRS. Also, if you have a moment and you're feeling generous, leave us a rate and review for Apple Podcasts because it helps us and we feel great. And and we share it on our socials and we get really excited. And thanks to everyone who left comments so far. Personal announcements. I will be in not DC, Arlington. Melissa had to correct me because I kept saying DC. You're like, it's not quite DC. And I was like, yeah, it's close enough. But what, December 9th and 10th? December. What the fuck? What the
December.
fuck?
December.
July
Yeah.
9th and 10th.
Great. You're doing great.
Wow. And this might come out after, so I don't even know. And then August 30th at the Bill Murray in London. I have two shows, 6 and 8 p.m. I'll be doing an album recording. Finally getting this material out there. Everybody's always asking for material. All right, fine. So I'm going to record that. And if you're in London and you can come, that would be amazing. Tickets aren't on sale yet, I don't think, but maybe by the time this posts, they will be. But it will be like at angelcomedy.co.uk. I'll probably have the link on my website too.
Yeah, go see your album recording. I am jealous and sad that I will not be there, but I've also been peer pressuring about this for 10 years. So I would like to say I have a little part in this. My book is starting to, like, UK people, you talked about it being there, but our friend Louise in Sweden just got Why Cats Are Assholes delivered to her this week.
Fantastic.
So Europe, you're starting to get my book. So if you want my book, go get it. It's been out for like 3 months. And I don't know when they start saying like, hey, nobody wants this. We're going to stop making this.
So, yeah, when are we going to see it at gas stations?
I'm just sad. I'm like worried. I'm like on the fence of like, do I want to put it in those free libraries that people have in like little neighborhoods where there's like almost like a little, when it looks like
you should with a Two Non Doctor sticker and like a little personalized signing in there.
Yeah.
It can't be personalized because you don't know who's picking it up, but you should do that.
Yeah. I was like, it's either going to be sad when people recycle my book or it's I should just plant it there and people would be like, oh, look at this crisp, never been read book I would like to dive into.
You should do some sort of giveaway for people saying like on their social media is like just a picture of them holding up your book or something.
I've done a few giveaways for that. Like I did a couple with people taking pictures of my book with their cat. There were some really funny ones.
Oh, nice. Totally missed that. Sorry.
Yeah. And then I'm going to do some more with like reviews and stuff because I've gotten some really nice reviews. So I want to do like a giveaway with that. The biggest issue right now is I ran out of books. So you can still buy the book like on Amazon and stuff, but my publisher doesn't have any more books. And I tried to buy books in bulk months ago because I ran out in April. And I put my order in and they don't think I'm going to get it until the end of July. So it's the biggest issue is I literally have one book and I don't want to do, so that's why I haven't done too many giveaways since.
Okay. Well, I have one and we can sell it for thousands of dollars.
Money making schemes by Liz and Maria.
I am bringing it with me so that Pasta can sign it.
Yes. Okay. So, just tour stuff. I'll be at the brokerage in Long Island, July 16th. I am at Atlanta. I just added this. Atlanta, July 23rd to the 25th, and Cleveland, technically Lakewood, July 31st. And then more dates are on my website. And fan mail.
Yeah.
It's a Instagram. Let me grab it real quick. Okay, here we go. This is an Instagram comment to our very highly viewed and talked about post, or let's get personal, creamy versus crunchy peanut butter. So I will read our comment and then we will dive into what we learned even more about the public's feelings about creamy versus crunchy. So this is from Golden Age 8090. My wife is strictly creamy, which basically makes me the same, but I liked both. But somehow Maria Shahada describing how uncomfortable it was to eat crunchy peanut butter makes me think it's unfit for human consumption. Like just tearing up the inside of your mouth for what? Peanuts? A selling point on a mixed nut package is often, okay, sorry, I breathe like a moron. A selling point on a mixed nut package is often to the effect of there's not that many peanuts in the mix. So why would one risk shredded cheeks and potentially expensive dental work for peanuts? I'm I'm sorry, Jimmy Carter, but no thank you.
I'm so glad I can convert people to my,
Yeah.
I don't want to say, to my side.
But I feel like there are people that were like, whatever you have. And then after yours, they were just like, why would I risk death and destruction?
You could choke on them. Ugh. For
But
what?
I will say almost everybody said creamy. Like you did both an Instagram votey thing, like a stories
Yeah,
vote
I did a
thing.
stories poll.
And what did you get?
It was 50-50, but it was like just slightly on the side of creamy.
Yeah. And then I would say comments alone, I'm just going to throw a number out there, was like 70% to 90% creamy.
You know why? It's because the country people cowered in shame for being who they are.
I do feel a little bit when I say crunchy, people like same with when because I like crunchy, I like hard cookies. I'll eat soft cookies. They usually have to be warm, but like I like a crunchy cookie. I like a Chips Ahoy as opposed to, that's not my favorite brand, but I'm just saying like crunchy wise. Like a Famous Amos is a great crunchy cookie. I like a crunchy cookie over a soft cookie. Like when they're sold packaged and they're soft, I'm like, what am I
Oh,
old?
I
Like,
love the soft. What is the soft one called in the red package? It looks like Chips Ahoy, but it's red.
I know what you're talking about, but
Damn, I've been here too long. But yeah, Chips Ahoy. If you put Chips Ahoy in the microwave, they will be soft.
I know. I had an ex do it, and I was like, I don't fucking need your zapping of chemicals in my chemicals. Like, just let me have my already. They're hard for a reason. Yeah, I like crunchy, and I don't know. I like being poked.
I like
I
soggy
like the
cereal.
risk taking. Huh?
I like soggy cereal.
Oh yeah. Oh, I could fight you. There is nothing more upsetting. I remember this so clearly when cereal, like first of all, I loved cereal and I would wake up being like, oh, I get to have cereal. Like I was so excited about it. And you would get a phone call, like an important phone call right after you poured the milk in. And you're like, no, like you're just like, no, my breakfast. And I get really mad when people ask me questions. Like my roommate would ask me questions and I'd be like, dude, if you give me a minute, I will answer all your questions, but I cannot have.
Oh my God.
And I would often put
Crispec's soggy is the best cereal.
Ugh, you're destroying our friendship. Golden Age, thank you for your comment. Also the other thing he said is that pretty much his wife has creamy, so he has to have creamy. Most people can easily be swayed based, like there's always someone that has a strong opinion that moves people over.
So if we lived together and we shared groceries, would you get creamy? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, Liz.
Yeah, I would
That's
sacrifice
actually very touching.
I would convert for you. You're like, do you want to be Coptic Christian? I was like, I would never. But creamy, I would convert creamy for you.
That's so sweet.
Also, at the end of the day, it's peanut butter. Like peanut butter is peanut butter is peanut
butter. All right.
Like you got all flattered and then
I mean, in the world of this conversation, it means like it matters so much. And so yeah, I did get flattered. And you're like, it's just peanut butter. And it's like, fine.
So nobody turns away creamy peanut butter. But yeah, I would convert for you. Yeah. Okay.
I would add Reese's Pieces for you. Okay, let's move on.
I'm slightly excited about my Google. It ties in like 7 episodes.
Oh.
It's crazy. Okay, so on a previous episode, either 1 or 2 ago, we were talking about how the subways are starting to get packed and how I had my first person sit like next to me where their skin was touching me and I could not focus, not focus. And then you told a story about how a girl was kind of shifted sideways and she wouldn't be touching you if she would have just set like straight ahead, but because she was like that, she was touching you and it was making you crazy. So last night, I'm on the train. I just did 3 shows. It's probably like 12:30 at night. And it's not that packed. And an in-love couple, so happy for you, sits down next to me. And the girl is twisted. And because she's twisted, she's either at different times when she's leaning over to kiss her boyfriend is touching me, or she's just so hot that like I can feel the heat from
Ugh.
her because she's that close to me. And I'm not joking. I looked to see if there was space next to him, and there was, and it was making me crazy, and I couldn't focus. So I got up and I went across because there was room. And I didn't look up. I just went across and I was looking at my phone. But in my mind, I was like, I hope they noticed and I hope they learned a lesson. They didn't learn a lesson. They did not care. But that's when I looked up, is there a misophonia for touch? Because I do feel maybe not the correct level of anger towards how much I hate just that, like, you don't need to be touching me and you're touching me. And how
Yeah.
are you not as uncomfortable as I am? Not to take away your stuff, but I was like, this does
No,
feel a
I
little.
hate being touched when I'm not supposed to be touched.
So
That
this is
sounds sad.
uh tactile tactile trigger stimuli. SPD sufferers, so SPD is sensory processing disorder. So SPD sufferers are often very sensitive to touch, such as tight shoes. We just had a whole episode where I talked about I don't like tying my shoes, and that's
Oh
why I have
yeah.
blisters. And I was like, I don't know, I just don't like tight shoes. Are sensitive to touch, such as tight shoes, clothing tags. I cut out all my tags, and when I forget to cut out a tag, I cannot focus because I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
Mm.
Being touched by another person. So if it's, I go to hug you, you go, like, when there's an agreement, it's fine. But when there's not an agreement, it is not fine. And
Yeah.
I don't even mean that in like a Me Too sense, just in a like you ever have somebody like linger, like they give you a hug, you're totally fine with the hug, and then they linger, or they just keep their hand on your shoulder and you're like, it was fine for a second, but what is, I can't what are we doing here? Why is that
Get
hand
off.
still there? Yeah, what are we doing? Are you taking me to prison? Like, why is your hand still there?
Remove yourself from me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, I can't focus. And then certain textures. So it says tactile sensitivity is very common in SPD, but tactile triggers are almost non-existent for misophonia. So this was like the most deep, because at first I was just like, I can't believe me even Googling this. They were just like, we know what misophonia is and we got you. There is something similar. This is the problem though. I started to look into sensory processing disorder because I was like, oh, maybe I have that. I definitely don't. Like, I definitely don't have sensory processing disorder. But just on the surface, this tactile trigger stimuli, I would like to do more research about it, because I was like, I don't know. And what I really wonder is, I think I am like this because I wasn't really touched as a kid. Like, there's so much research that you should hold your baby and be like, you know what I mean? Like, you're supposed to be very like loving, and like that wasn't my family. We just weren't a touchy-feely family. And then there was also like abuse. So I think just in general, I'm a little like, yeah, like I'm always like, ah. And then if, let's say, I do more research and I find out I do have this thing, I was like, is that why we're friends? Like, you have misophonia, I have this tactile thing, and we're both batshit crazy.
I think we're friends despite that.
But there is something to be said that there's always this weird under the surface drawing of similarities. Like, I noticed in college that I would make friends with people, and as we got closer, I'd find out that their parents were alcoholics, and they always group people with parents that are mentally ill with parents that are alcoholics because it's a similar kind of damage. Like, there was always like, other kids that came from a large family, I would be like, without even knowing it, we would kind of get along. And then you'd find out, oh, they're one of four or one of six, and I'm one of five. Like, it is kind of weird that like you are shaped, and before you even get to know people, you start to connect because you've been shaped in a similar way.
Yeah. I have nothing to add to that.
Okay. No worries. What was your Google?
Mine was where does fat go when you lose it?
I actually know this answer.
Oh, okay. I always feel like I have like 5-year-old questions. Like, where does fat go when you lose it?
No. I don't think it's a five. It's really like, if you don't research it, you don't know. Can I tell you what I think it is?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't go anywhere. It just shrinks. You actually can never lose your fat.
Wrong.
Oh, am I? Okay, I'm ready.
It does shrink. It does do that. There's two things that happen. So like, okay, so blah, blah, blah. When you exercise, that like shrinks your fat cells. So your cells get rid of the fat because they store the fat. Like when you have a surplus of fat, it stores it. And that's called, It stores the fat in the form of triglycerides. This is how the body preserves energy for future needs. Over time, you have an excess amount that's fat surplus, so then you get fat. And to promote weight loss, you have to like have a calorie deficit and burn the calories with exercise. So when you exercise, the fat cells do shrink, but then like the cells get rid of the fat, like get the fuck out fat, and then the fat, like this is the part I wanted to know. It was like, where does it go? And it just converts it into energy, and then your body expels it through carbon dioxide and urine. That's what I wanted. It comes out in your pee.
I want to see a diagram.
Do you
I
not
was
believe
always
me?
under, no, it's not that I don't believe you. I was always the impression that the reason fat loss is so hard, and then also like after you lose weight, maintaining your new weight is so difficult, is because fat shrinks. And so once you, let's say, okay, let's just say we gain 10 pounds. Once you gain the 10 pounds, you can lose the 10 pounds, but it's so much easier now to blow up back to the 10 pounds again, and much quicker, because it never went anywhere. And that's always been the hardest part about weight loss, is that once you do gain the weight, it never goes away. But that
What do you
could
mean
be
it
like,
does go somewhere? That's a horrible way to look at it. It makes you never want to like try to lose weight because it feels
it's
hopeless.
not a way to look at it. It's just what I learned. So I don't know.
Okay.
I like
Several
yours way
websites have
better.
said, yeah. Several websites have said the same thing, but I'm going to read you health lines. Where does it go? As the process of fat loss progresses, fat cells drastically shrink in size, resulting in visible changes in body composition. So that's the one you were saying. Byproducts of fat loss. When body fat is broken down for energy through complex processes within your cells, two major byproducts are released: carbon dioxide and water. The carbon dioxide is exhaled during breathing, and the water is disposed of through either urine, sweat, or exhaled air. Disposal of these byproducts is greatly elevated during exercise due to increased breathing and sweating. Makes sense.
Do you
Why is it
think,
so hard to keep weight off? That's the next question.
oh, please go into it.
When you eat more than your body can burn, fat cells increase in both size and number. When you lose fat, these same cells can shrink in size, though their number remains roughly the same. Thus, the primary, I don't know, I don't know why thus made me laugh. There's no reason for it. Thus, the primary reason for changes in body shape is a reduced size, not number, of fat cells. Ooh, so it's what you were saying. This also
Yeah.
means that when you lose weight, fat cells remain present in an effort, and if efforts are not made to maintain weight loss, they can easily grow in size again. Some studies suggest that this may be one reason why maintaining weight loss is so difficult for many people. Fuck's sake.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying, is that like, okay, I'm just being very simple about this. Let's say you have 10 fat cells, then you gain 15 fat cells, then you lose 5 fat cells. You don't ever lose 5. You always have 15 fat cells. You just have 5 smaller fat cells. And that's why, like, when you stop, let's say, juicing, or you stop doing a diet or whatever, you will gain back that weight, and often more, much quicker, because they were just hanging out. They're like, hey, I'm here if you need me. Once you lose the weight, it's a lot of work. And you can kind of, what I've read is you can kind of, okay, let's say you lose the 150 pounds, you have to, after a while, if you really do maintain it, it does kind of click in a little bit, and you can kind of stay there. It's just, there is like this window of like a couple of years where you're always kind of like, you're always like fighting your fat cells. You're like, no, no. But I do think the longer you maintain it, the kind of easier it is to keep it over time. And then also keep in mind, there's also good habits and stuff like that. It's just whenever, that's why like things like stomach stapling, or like any kind of like thing where they help you lose fat really extremely, it's like, yes, your stomach is smaller, but like, I don't know, I just, there's something about that extreme quick weight loss that it's much easier to kind of blow up again, as well as there's so many, it's a little scary of a process.
Well, it all feels hopeless. Should we move on to Let's Get Personal?
Yeah, great. Great. I actually was wondering if I asked this question before, but then also the answer is going to be different, because if I did ask it early pandemic, it is different.
Yeah, okay.
What show are you binge watching right now?
Oh, I think we did talk about this because I remember talking about Mad Men. Right now, Game of Thrones.
Really? Did you watch it when everybody else was
I've
watching it?
never seen it. So it was like I just kind of like, it was one of those shows that so everyone was talking about that I just didn't watch it. And then the ending came out and so many people were unhappy that I was like, well, I'm never going to watch it, because why would I put that much effort into something that's going to disappoint me? But I ran out of other things to watch, you know,
Sorry, it
and
just
so
made me
then
think of like every relationship.
yeah, so and I'm on season 2 and I love it.
Is there
It's
any
really
part of you that regrets not watching it when everybody else watched it because you have nobody to talk to about
yeah,
it?
I mean, yeah. Uh, yeah, and I've brought up believe me, I've tried. I've brought up Game of Thrones.
Everybody's like, you should have called a year ago.
I'm like, why? Who gives a shit? It's like Jim Gaffigan's joke. It was like, hey, I just saw Heat. Heat. I saw that 6 years ago.
Yeah, but I
I
want to talk
want to
about
talk
it
about it
now.
now. No, loser. Yeah, it's just like there's no. I'm seeing things, you know, for the first time, discovering all this stuff and being shocked. And no one. I mean, Johnny's great to watch it with because he hadn't seen it for like 10 years, so he's forgotten some of it. But there's no one who would really give a shit if I talked about it. Does anybody
I've
want to
never,
talk about Game of Thrones? Just write to
oh
me.
my God, write to us and tell me how you feel about season 2. I never watched it. I actually have a huge habit of not watching any of the big everyone's watching it buzz.
I do too. This was something I wanted to do a joke about, but I haven't figured out why. Like why that is why if too many people suggest something, do I just go, I'm never gonna watch that now? It's like subconscious. I don't say, oh, that's the fifth recommendation for that. I'm never gonna watch it. It's but I just kind of rebel against it.
I think some of the stuff that everybody likes, I just don't like, or I can't handle it. Like I know that it's like I never watched Walking Dead violence. I never watched Lost. I don't really like suspense, like whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah.
Sopranos, I couldn't do because of violence. What's the meth show?
Breaking
Breaking
Bad.
Bad, I couldn't do because of violence. I couldn't even like my roommates watched it together when we Carmen and Chris would watch it and I'd be like, can you just like the music is like haunting. Like I hate it. Like I hate that I can hear the music. Um yeah, so there's so many things that everybody watched and they were super into and everybody's talking about and I didn't watch it. But then I think about the ones I did watch because of buzz and it was like Orange is the New Black. I got really into and that was when Netflix like the new like everybody the Queen's Gambit I watched when everybody talked about it. But again, those were both like I don't know, they just didn't seem they were in line with something I would have want to watch, but like I know enough about the violence that's in what's the show you just mentioned? I was about to
Game
call
of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. I wanted to call it Lord of the Rings. Like I was so
I,
ready to
I I get that. I get that.
um and like they're rape and violence and I was just like no, that's not relaxing to me. Like that's just not
Well, I don't watch it to relax. I wa I watch it for the storytelling, but
yeah, I just it'll
okay.
stress me out.
What are you binge watching right now?
I'm embarrassed and I wrote this question. Like, and it's the complete opposite of what you are watching.
Uh-huh.
But it is also too late to talk to anybody about. So I'm watching Gilmore Girls.
Oh, wow.
And this, can I just tell you what I discovered? Because it really makes me laugh. So came out in like 99. So I would have been a freshman in high school. Okay. So came out in 99. I remember people talking about it, by the way. And I was like, ugh, no, thank you. I was hanging out with like punk kids and doing drugs. I'm not going to watch a fucking mom and daughter be best friends and whatever. So I
Gross.
don't know. Yeah. Did you have something to say?
Just the premise of that sounds stupid.
And it is. I'm on season 3. So I don't know what in my heart made me decide 3 weeks ago, a month ago to get into it. So I watched the first episode and I was like, this is bad. Like this is bad writing and this is a bad show. And then I watched another episode and then another episode and another episode. And like I watched 5 episodes in like one sitting and you start to like the characters. And then you start to realize this is a women's fantasy show or like almost really what female porn should be, which is all the main female characters are beautiful, smart, funny, interesting. All the male characters are one-dimensional and they like them a lot and they're either doting and do whatever they need and like just great partners or people in their lives, or when they're angry it's because they're jealous. That's it. So
Yeah.
anger is only based They only get anger based out of jealousy. And when they fly off, they always apologize first. And I was like, this is porn. I was like, this, because I've always, you know, we all talk about hating like women being these one-dimensional, just kind of like sex objects that are like, they're beautiful and they always show up and they have no needs and they like what you like. And I was like, oh man, seeing it on the other side, I get it. Why would you even fight it? It's great.
Didn't the writer of Gilmore Girls go on to write Mrs. Maisel, or is that something else?
Oh, I don't know. That would make sense to me. And I like the show. Even, you know, there's parts of it that is really bad writing, and there's parts of it that it is. Yeah, that makes sense.
She wrote Mrs. Maisel, yeah.
Good for her. And I'm invested in the characters and I like them, but like it is the same critique you would have about a rom-com you would have about this.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm watching daily rom-coms.
I actually did want to watch that. Actually, no, I think I did start that and I couldn't. I have like 30 shows that I'm like 1.5 minutes in because I just was like, no. Like I tried to watch Ginny and Georgia or whatever, and it's like, no. And then there was
you have to be in the right headspace for the right, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Also, it's nostalgia. So you have to understand that it's very 90s, even though it's like early 2000 for the most part. The style they're wearing, how they talk. Like, to me, I think a lot of this is like 90s nostalgia that I'm watching as well. Like, it just makes me feel comfortable and it makes it feel familiar to me.
That's interesting. I should watch it. I like after Homeland, and I remember Homeland was hard for me to get into because I was like, I love it. I'll watch it again. And then I just sort of kept watching. It's sort of how you started with Gilmore Girls. Then my flatmate and I started watching it together, and then it ended up being really good. And I watched the full 8 seasons. And then
Really proud of you. You've been doing a lot of work out there.
Fuck off. Fuck off. Oh my God. Like what? Like you asked this question. You told me about what you're binging, and then I tell you about everything I'm binging. Like I'm not allowed to put away 2 hours of my day to
It was a real trigger for you. I was really
because I actually feel guilty.
Oh, don't feel guilty.
And then I had to go, no, you're allowed to turn off for a little bit, Maria. You can't always be working.
Absolutely.
So then you did that, and I was like, fuck you.
Oh, I agree. Dude,
but let me just say this real quick.
Okay, sorry.
Startup. So we started watching Startup, and that was another thing that I was like, I don't really like it. But I was like, remember how you didn't like Homeland? Keep watching it. You know, because it started it and it was like a ton of sex. I feel like HBO shows in particular, but shows do this on purpose. Like they just the first part of all shows have like a ton of sex to like pull you in.
Yeah.
But it doesn't pull me in. So it's just like it's fucking a lot of sex for no reason.
Yeah, it actually kind of really bothers me. Gilmore Girls, a lot of making out. And I think making out is a fucking female.
Love making out.
And watching people make out, I'm like, that kid looks like a good kisser. And then I'm like, this kid's 16 right now in this movie. Or who knows? He's an actor. Maybe he's like 19. But then I was like, I feel gross. But I was like, I don't know. I'm watching kids make out right now.
Have you ever seen like a kiss on screen where you're like, that person? Like, I know you just said that, but like, I remember watching Hugh Grant kiss, I think it was Renee Zellweger and like Bridget Jones when The Edge of Reason or something. And I was like, oh.
You're like, do they get training? Like, who teaches you how to look like a good kisser on screen?
Seriously, because usually kisses on screen are like faces pressed together, absolutely nothing. You know what I mean?
No, but I remember, so I watched the new girl for like, I got into it and then fell off it pretty quickly. So for like 5 seasons I was in, and it's still, that's where the embarrassment question came. Like, why do I have to pause it? But I remember the reason my friend Amanda got me into it. She's like, I just have to show you this episode where like they kiss, and it's just like this pull in kiss. And I was like, oh, okay. And so then, and it was like 4 seasons in. So then I watched the whole thing, and then I was like, oh, this is the kiss episode. And I was like, shut up, everybody, shut up. I don't know what that is. That's got to be some,
you like lighting candles. You're like, shh.
Because honestly, whenever there's like an aggressive amount of sex, I'm like, that's not what's keeping me. But like a good kiss scene.
Oh my God, kissing scenes, like when 2 characters come together and they do that passionate like slam into each other, and then they're trying to go into the door and they're trying to like take off clothes while they go in the door, and you're like, who does that? It's so stupid.
Yeah, because there's a part of me. Yeah, I never understood the like because you're just like, oh no, my stuff. Like the whole time, I'm just like,
Yeah.
I would literally be like, hey, oh, I bought this in France for $15. I know that doesn't sound like a lot of money, but it's memorabilia to me, and it's really important. So like, oh no, the table. Come on,
Yeah.
man. Like,
Yeah, totally.
crap. We should get into our topic because I've made this
Okay.
too enjoyable. Topic is, and I'm very passionate about this topic, health benefits of animals. Clearly so many reasons I brought this up, but was Chris Mcdougall our first Google guest? I can't remember. He was one of our earlier ones. He might have been our first
Maybe.
one.
Yeah.
So Chris Mcdougall is one of our Google guests from season 1, and Chris wrote Born to Run. I can never remember the name of his second book, and it's so good. But his newest book is called Running with Sherman, which is about how him and his wife, they've now moved, but him and his wife lived
Sorry.
in.
I just picturing like my own joke book of running with sherbet, and it's just me with a bunch of sherbet just all over my shirt. Just like it's like
Different book.
flying off my chin.
Yeah, just you're sticky for no reason. So the book basically is about he was living in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It was all these Amish that he lived around, and there was a neglected donkey, and he took in this donkey. He had a farm, and he took in this donkey that like they really thought it was going to die. It was neglected and abused and not taken care of. And then they kind of nurse it back to health. And the thing about donkeys is the way they digest is by moving around. Like they basically walk, and that their stomach digests from the walking. So this donkey was kind of tied up to a fence, and it was clearly not well taken care of. So trying to nurse this thing back to health, they were like, you should give it an activity. And he discovered burro racing, so donkey racing, and he ends up getting other donkeys and then training 3 donkeys and doing this donkey race. I forget where, but that's what the whole book is about. But the book also just talks about, half the book is just basically talking about the benefits of having an animal and why animals are good for why living with animals and are important to society. And a lot of examples he gives is like the Amish and the fact that they have horses. They don't really have cars, they have horses that take them everywhere. But just taking care of animals, the importance of animals, and how they are just helpful to your well-being. And of course, as somebody that is an animal lover, and both my parents are veterinarians, I don't know any other life without animals. I think I lived 2 years without a cat from my freshman year, because I lived in a dorm. So freshman year and sophomore year, I didn't have a cat. And then when I was 19, I got pasta. But I've never really lived without an animal.
Most of my life has been without animals. I had a cat named Ernie for a couple years. And then we went on vacation and left him with my brother. And he ran away while we were on vacation. And then he had to tell us, and my dad cried. My dad actually didn't want pets at all. And then Ernie used to he totally charmed his way into my dad's heart. And he used to sit on his shoulder. Like he didn't do this with anyone else, just my dad. My mom would feed him like turkey dinners and shit. Like my mom treated him like a third kid.
Yeah.
And then my dad just,
Ernie want pie? Ernie
Yeah.
doesn't want pie today, but I'll make him pie tomorrow.
He's going to eat the pie. And but like my dad really kind of loved the cat. And so he was he cried. And I remember my little cousin being laughing at my dad for crying. I was like,
oh,
you're the problem with the world.
Yeah.
Sorry, my dad has a heart. Fuck off.
Those are actually my favorite TikTok videos, by the way. It's literally my boyfriend didn't want a cat, my dad didn't want a cat, and then it's all these sneaky videos of the cat, like the father taking it around the house. Aww. And brushing its teeth, holding the cat, and having a full conversation with the cat. And and it's just it's so funny to me, because in general about cats specifically, so many people are no, I don't like cats. And I'm like, fucker, you just didn't have a cat. You just don't know.
Yeah.
Give it 2 weeks and you will literally be and then of course there's tons of people that get that cat, fall in love, and they're like, well, I just like my cat. They're all the same. Let's calm down a second. Jesus Christ.
They're not. Liz, you're wrong. They are not all the same. Ernie, totally different. So it was an orange tabby, maybe. I don't know what cats are, but
Yeah.
My brother got another one later, and he called him Clark, and what a dick.
Terrible
Clark is
name.
a dick.
Yeah, it's because it's a
No, how
terrible
dare
name.
you? It's a good name. I like
Do you
Clark.
own a boat? What the fuck?
Yeah,
What kind of name is
that's why
Clark?
it's funny. That's why it's funny.
That cat's not wearing a bow tie at all times. It's not dressed right.
He's an asshole cat.
Also, I fully believe this as somebody that wrote a book about it. You have a dick cat, maybe you're a dick human because you're raising it.
Why do you hate my brother?
Yeah, that was a little aggressive. But okay, so just in general, so the base thing that I've always known, and I have it in a joke, is that having animals and petting animals lowers your blood pressure. And it does. It's just a very relaxing thing to do, to like pet, which a part of me is like, if it's just petting, then can't you just have like a really soft pillow? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm
Yeah.
sure there's something about it breathing and it's snuggling to you and you can't connect with a pillow. But I have known for my entire life that in general, just owning pets and petting them it lowers your blood pressure. But there's like, I actually found out more benefits than I even realized. So like one of the things they said is kids growing up with like a pet, like a furry pet, so not like maybe a snake, but like a furry pet will actually lower your risk of getting allergies and having asthma. And they basically say they did this study where like you have a baby and the baby grows up with fur covered animals, they tend to have less pet allergies because there was this belief before that if you have a kid with a pet, they're going to get pet allergies. But it's actually the opposite. If a kid grows up with a pet, they're less likely to have pet allergies, which that's just about exposure. And that makes sense to me. Less likely to have eczema, which I thought was like a little weird, especially now that
But
we're
you
starting.
have eczema and you're around animals everywhere.
I know my whole family actually has eczema, so I thought that was weird. But and then higher levels of some immune system chemicals, which is a sign of just a stronger immune system. So what they believe is that like dogs, cats, animals are dirty. I don't know where jealous came from. So they're dirty and babies have like a greater exposure to like dirt and allergens, and it gives them a stronger immune system. The same way that we kind of joke that New Yorkers are kind of healthier because we have the subway, and the subway is truly a petri dish of bacteria and sadness. Oh, can I just say this? So I was looking some of the stuff I got was from WebMD, because I try to go to the websites that have validity and not just like getacat.com, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's usually like Healthline, WebMD, just like anything.gov. So one of those things was like date magnets. And then it literally said what we all know, which is that like dogs are natural conversation starters. So people are going to come over and be like, oh, what kind of dog do you have? Oh, what's his name? Clark? What a dumb name. Like, so,
Stop shitting on that name. I love that name.
anyway, I was like, okay, WebMD, like, are you talking about how to get laid on your like benefits like I was just like, what? I was like, what is this? But it is true. And I've actually so my friend Irene got a quarantine dog. Happiest I've ever seen. Like, she's just elated. Like she's like, I can't believe I've never had a dog. I'm so in love with this dog. It is almost a problem how much I love this dog. And she's become even more of an animal person. So she's my running buddy. So we go to the park and we now start our run 10 minutes late every time we meet because there's clearly dogs everywhere. And she's like, oh, your dog. We'll stop in the middle of the run. And I was
That's
like,
fucking sorry. That drives me crazy. I had a roommate that did that. We would go hiking up Runyon and she had to talk to every dog she saw. And I just, oh my God, the fury in me. I'm like, this is supposed to be a relaxing thing, like hiking, getting some exercise.
but this is what I think is going to happen because she does it. And I love dogs. I'm absolutely like, they're so cute and I'm happy to, but because she's so into this dog and like, then the owner just gets ignored, that more and more I've been like, she'll be like, what's your dog's name? And they'll be like, Chi Chi. And she'll be like, Chi Chi, how are you doing? And I'll go, what's your name? Because you're a person and we should, you know what I mean? So then it's just like, oh, it's Mark. So she is like making out with Chi Chi. And I'm just like, oh, you live in Brooklyn or whatever. I'm like, this is definitely how I like, this dog and my friend are going to be the wingman to me getting a boyfriend, because it's happened so much where I'm like, I need to talk to the owner. I've actually talked to some lovely ladies, like where I'm just like, she's like, oh, it's you right?
Sorry, very, very, what the hell is going on? I'm fine.
You had a full ear meltdown.
Yeah. Just
You were like a dog where you're like, Smoke. There's smoke.
Yeah. I don't know what happened. Like, there was a plane, but I heard it in this ear. And so I was
Oh,
like,
weird.
"What?" Yeah, it was really strange. And then I pressed the button, and then it started playing music. I don't know where I got the music because it's connected to my computer. Sorry, I just had a freak out.
It's okay. I understand your issues, and I understood that they
And
needed
also,
to
I
be
keep
dealt with.
seeing things out of the corner of my eye, like moving, but nothing's moving.
I keep thinking this is where I keep my glasses, and it's on my desk, and it shouldn't be on my desk. But
Looks
for
like a
some
taco.
reason, 4 times I've been like, oh my God, why is my phone there? Because I would never keep my phone on my left side. That's just I don't use this
What?
hand. I'm a righty, so it's always going to be on my right side. I would
That's
never keep my phone over here. That is like, I don't
weird.
even know what to do with that.
I've never even thought about that.
My phone is always in my right pocket. If you want to mug me, that's where it
Oh
is.
my God. Sometimes I forget, like, you are actually a bit OCD. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah,
actually.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, no, I cannot function. If like I've done, you ever like you're running to the train and you just throw things in your pockets and you're doing whatever, and then I'll notice that my keys are in my right side and my phone is in my left side, and I'm like ah, I'm like I cannot handle this. So a lot of the stuff I think we kind of know. So studies show that like Alzheimer's patients have fewer anxious outbursts if there's a pet. And just in general, clearly dogs provide exercise and companionship. I'll go even further with people that are like just older in general. And they even talk about like less depression, lower blood pressure. Clearly pets are a natural rise in serotonin and dopamine if you're playing with them and having like a moment. Every time I record my cat, I'm like, this is the best moment of my life right now. But what I've noticed both with like kind of older people in my life, but also myself going through depressive bouts, is that having to take care of somebody outside of myself has kept me from going down lower. You know what I mean? Because I have to get out of bed and feed my cat. I have to make sure that my cat's okay. I've
Hmm.
also noticed that I will be uncomfortable or I'll be whatever. But if I think like, if I don't get up and turn on the air conditioner because I'm being lazy, I'll have a moment where I'll be like, yeah, but is pasta okay? So I've noticed that I take care of her better than I take care of myself sometimes. And I might go throughout the day and not eat because I'm depressed, but I would never put my cat through that. So I also think just in general, uh, maybe all people are like this, but I definitely think women, we have such a caretaking part of us that I always treat, you know, my niece and nephews, you know, my friends, my pets better than I treat myself. And I will go outside of myself and my capabilities of how I feel in that moment to take care of them. And I think in general, that helps you with your depression, but also just, you know, because like if you're depressed and you have to go walk the dog, you're already doing something good for yourself. Like there are
Yeah.
ways that there is something about taking care of something else. And like especially when you fall in love with your pet, and you know me, my phone is like, hey, you have too many pictures. And I was like, how is that possible? And then I look and it's just all my cat. like like no, not one picture of my friends. Just all my cat. It's good for your heart. So heart attack patients who have pets actually survive longer. And then they say male pet owners have less sign of heart disease when they own pets. There are risks. I mean, in general, animals are gross. We kind of know that. So, you know, they carry parasites that can be transferred to people. Remember, there was that whole thing where they thought, you know, they did notice that cats and dogs have COVID and they were all scared that they could transfer it, but they couldn't. So there's a
Mm.
lot of stuff that can be transferred, but COVID wasn't one of them. Cats. Oh, I have this in my cat book. There's, I don't know how to say it. It's like toxoplasma something or whatever, but there is a parasite that comes from cat feces that makes you more in love with, like the parasite makes you a host and makes
Oh,
you more
yeah.
in love with cats, and it's this like cyclical thing. For a while I was like, is this, oh, I thought I was just, my personality is I like cats, but maybe I have this parasite. I don't have this parasite. But in general, you have to be, as people that pick up dog poop on the sidewalk or you scoop cat litter, you do have to be careful. And you know, the same way you wash your hands after you go to the bathroom, you have to make sure you wash your hands after dealing with that. I often like, I'll pet my cat and then before I do anything else I wash my hands. But I will be honest, there's times I pet my cat and then my hands are in my eyeballs and I'm like,
Yeah.
that can't be good. And then I very quickly want to talk about just the fact that all animals have rescued their owners. There's so many, and I actually started looking it up, but there's like bunnies that like warned their owner. There's like bunnies doing Heimlich. Like there's like crazy stories, but there's like, it's like some of it's insane. It's like a snake that like rescued a child. Some of these are like insane, but like we always hear about dogs rescuing like people from either literally rescuing them from burning buildings, or there's a fire and they go and wake up the owners before the fire gets too bad and alerts them. There was a cat that was like a very quiet cat that was like freaking the fuck out, and they're like, hey, something's wrong because this cat is never like this, and there was a carbon monoxide leak, and that cat warned them and got them out of the house before they got sick. But yeah, there's like there's this great story. I loved this. The cat chased off like this huge dog that was like attacking a little boy. So chased it off, bit it, like literally scared the crap out of it, and then went to go find the boy to make sure it was okay. But there's tons of like just great stories of like, there's also like just dumb dogs and cats that don't love you. There's tons of those as well. But
I was gonna say there must be stories where it's just like you were having a heart attack and your dog just sat there and just like cocked its head and was like, huh.
and of course, I always joke that cats are going to eat your face when you die, and that's just
Yeah.
facts.
I'm not dead yet. That's my
I'm not
favorite
dead
joke of
yet.
yours.
I'm not dead yet. But yeah, I could go on and on about what sucks and is great about them. But like, I just didn't think in general, like it's kind of cool that by sharing your life with an animal, it makes you healthier, and it just.
Mm.
I don't know. I'm so like pro everybody that got a quarantine pet, and I think we've converted a lot of people that would have never gotten a pet because of how stressful and scary and isolating this year was. And it was like, okay, if I can't see my friends, I'm gonna make a friend, and
Yeah.
now you have like a lizard that's your best friend or whatever you
Mm.
adopted.
Yeah. I can't get a pet until I've settled a little bit. Like,
Yeah, I get that. But I was really excited when you had a cat living in your house. It like made it even better. Not
hated
saying
that
you're not
cat.
good enough. I know. The cat hated me. Oh my God. That cat literally didn't love me. And I was still like woke up every morning and I was like, this is the day I get this cat to love me. It was like a project. I would love for people to like just write in and say if they like what benefits they've gained from having a pet, if they were non-pet people that got converted, if their pet hasn't done anything spectacular. We all know they've ruined your couch and your carpets. Like we get that. But like, what are some exemplary things pets have done to make your life better and make your health better? Because I always love when they're like cats that can determine if you have cancer, and like, the fact that they'll let dogs into hospitals because they help people heal. Like, I love stories like that. So you can write to us at 2non-doctors. What is that? Number
That's
2?
2non-fullworddoctors@gmail.com. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.